Imagine an ER waiting room with your favorite blanket and pillow, your cat's Pixel and Widget, and your mom's chicken soup. At Dignity Health, we know the only thing worse than being in pain is being stuck in an ER waiting room. So we offer In Quicker. You get an estimated ER arrival time online so you can start your wait at home. It's just another way of putting leading-edge medicine within easy reach. Learn more at strosehospitals.org/ER. Dignity Health, including St. Rose Dominicans, Rose de Lima, San Martin, and Siena campuses in Henderson and Las Vegas. Hello, human kindness.
Nevadans are battle-born, but lately we've been tested like never before. So when COVID came to Nevada, Senator Cortez Masto went to work. She got loans for small businesses that saved 500,000 Nevada jobs and worked with President Biden to provide stimulus checks and tax cuts. Senator Cortez Masto got new funding to keep Nevada's first responders on the job, too. Call Senator Cortez Masto at 202-224-3542 and tell her to keep delivering relief for Nevada. Paid for by Majority Forward.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. What's up, everybody, and greetings from an 80% opened Sin City. So we had some of those restrictions lifted this weekend here in Las Vegas, and the city was lit. There was a lot of people here in town. The casinos were slammed, traffic was insane, and it looks like there's a bit of life being breathed back into my city, thank God. Now, let's hope things continue on this trajectory and, we continue to see a lot of people coming in and, spending money, obviously, because the more that happens, the more people that I care about, as far as, my colleagues and my loved ones, my friends, they can all go back to work, right? I see a lot of people talk like, oh, well, people are home and they're collecting unemployment and they're just happy to do it. I mean, I guess that's the case for some people, but certainly not for people who work in entertainment, folks. Even if you're maxed out in Las Vegas, right? Say you're making the max amount of unemployment. I think it's like $469 a week or something. And then you add that $300 that the federal government has allocated onto the back end of that, you're still looking at $769 a week, right? I mean, not horrible money, and for some people, certainly more than they would be making if they were not working. But that's nowhere near what my colleagues are used to making. We're talking about professionals, folks. I mean, I think some people are under the illusion that you show up for a concert and all that stuff is just set up for you. It just magically sets itself up and then magically takes itself down and goes back into the trucks and on to the next destination. That's not how this works. These are professionals, folks, okay? People that have, dedicated their lives to entertainment, to becoming stagehands or lighting directors or audio engineers or a bevy of other positions within the industry. And to see people talk trash like these people want to be home right now, or like they should go out and get other jobs, right? Oh yeah, you were making $55 an hour as an audio engineer, but you should go get a job at McDonald's because Tom, Dick, and Harry on the internet aren't happy that you're collecting unemployment. There's like this pervasive political tribalism split. And it's disturbing and disgusting, folks. People don't want to be out of work. Let's remember, anybody who's on unemployment, okay, they were working before this whole stupid-ass pandemic hit. You think they decided they didn't want to go to work? And it might be different in other cities, right? I can only talk on what I know about. And Vegas is based on hospitality and entertainment, right? So if that's not happening and the government is shutting down the jobs, well, what do you expect people to do? You expect people to go from making 110, 112 grand a year, 150 grand a year, 200 grand a year to working at Walmart because the government took away their job? That's not a realistic outlook. And really, I think what a lot of it comes down to are people are just salty. People are in dead-end jobs, right? They're making less money, perhaps, than people are on unemployment, and they're projecting their misgivings and their attitude out on those other folks. And usually I'd be on board, right? Usually I'd be like, all right, look, enough with the milking of the unemployment, enough with the milking of the handouts. But we're in a situation that we have never seen before, folks. And if the government is going to take people's jobs away, and if the government is going to force lockdowns, then the government's going to have to come out of their pocket and compensate people fairly. But just like every other situation, it's used as a situation to divide people, right? This shouldn't be a situation that divides people, right? If people can keep their homes, or if people are out on the streets, or everybody should be down with that. But it's just another issue that they use, another issue that is pumped and pushed, and, another way for people to pick sides, right? And choose their tribe. When in reality, we should all just be looking at the situation and say to ourselves, damn, can you imagine if the government took my job away? And, there's a lot of people who didn't suffer through that, right? So they don't know. But if the government would just get out of the way, right? Let people open, let businesses do their thing, then this would all be a moot point. But Las Vegas in general is definitely on the upswing. It's on the comeback. And the more people who come here, the more people who are visiting and spending money, and the better off this city certainly is. And we're starting to see that, folks, for sure. And we're going to see a lot more of it. But Las Vegas is going to take a little bit more time than other places to fully rebound, and that's just the nature of our economy here. And on the next podcast, Life is a Mosh Pit, we're going to talk about some of that kind of stuff too, about local economies and how some of them are too reliant on one specific thing. In Vegas, obviously, it's gaming. Other places, there are other issues. And we're going to talk about that a little bit as well on the new podcast, and how these states, just like you and I with our personal finances, right? They need to diversify a little bit. So I'm happy to see the people coming back to Vegas, and I am really, really pumped to see the city starting to come back to life. And now that there's some conventions and stuff being booked and some concerts getting ready to crack off, people that I care about, people you talk to every day, and I've told you folks before, I've had colleagues who are suicidal over all of this. So it's really great to see people get back to work, man. And I hope things continue on this trajectory, and I really hope that these governors have learned their lesson from the first time around, and that with all of the knowledge that we have now, that there's another pathway forward. God forbid there's another outbreak. So let's see, right? Let's see how it all breaks. Let's see how everything ends up. But here in Las Vegas, I am definitely happy to report that we are trending in the right direction as far as people starting to get back to work. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of jobs are still part-time or on-call, stuff like that. But at least there's some signs of life. And after what we have been through, not just Vegas, obviously, the whole world in the last year and a half or so, signs of life are certainly something that you want to see. Because there were times where I would look out on the streets here and I didn't know if Vegas was ever going to come back. That's what it felt like at the time, right? It's hard to see the silver lining. But now with everything happening, not just here in Vegas, but California and all the different places that are getting ready to open up, getting ready to gear up, it's starting to be a bit of sun poking out from behind the clouds. And I hope that we continue to have this sort of progress moving forward so that we can continue to basically rebuild, right? All right, so enough of my monologuing, enough of my early morning Vegas report for you folks. let's jump into our article, shall we? Today we have an article from the Toronto Sun. And this article is touching on a bit about Ghislaine Maxwell's, personal relationships with said person in this article. Now, the person wanted to remain unnamed because they have spoken with the FBI already. So this is a source that the Toronto Sun has gotten with and talked to about Ghislaine Maxwell. So let's dive into this article from the Toronto Sun, authored by Brad Hunter, and let's see what they have to say about Ghislaine Maxwell. Headline: Ghislaine Maxwell said girls are like candy, pal alleges. Yeah, that's not creepy or anything, right? I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell is a walking and talking cringe machine. Every time I hear something that this lady has said or allegedly said in confidence to people, it's nauseating. That there are people like this amongst us folks walking around and, sharing our air and conducting their day-to-day in our vicinity is a bit disturbing. Now, we know that there's a bunch of sick people amongst us, right? But when you look at the so-called elite and you get the spotlight shining on them, it is very apparent, at least to me, that a vast majority of these people are at the very least fellow travelers with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, once you get to that level of power, that level of money, what gets you off, right? Normal people like you and I, we go gamble, we get excited, we get the adrenaline flowing, Buy a new car, we're fired up, things like that. But what gets the adrenaline going for these so-called elite with all of this money? Seems to be using power over the powerless is what gets these people off. Ghislaine Maxwell looks like she's been chiseled from a block of ice. That's true. With gray hair, though. Right? Now she has some gray hair. She can't go to Frederick Fekkai to touch up her roots right now. So she's going to have to rock with that gray hair like she's chiseled from ice. Little bit of a bruise underneath her eye. Looks like she fell asleep with her glasses on to me, though. Right? I mean, how else did she get that bruise? Nobody beat her up in jail. No guards hit her. None of that stuff occurred. Stop it. So it was self-inflicted allergies, or fell asleep with her glasses on, rubbed her eye too hard. Hell, maybe she punched herself in the face. Who knows? But certainly, there was nobody else that gave her that black eye. We'd have the video on it, right? So I don't even understand what her lawyers are alleging. They're saying it's from the light? What? What? And if her demeanor is any indication, the inside matches the outside, according to a former friend who has known the disgraced socialite for years. Socialite, co-conspirator, general all-around scuzzbag, allegedly fellow child abuser, and a bipedal serpent. Today, the former paramour of billionaire pedophile Jeffrey Epstein is cooling her jets in a Brooklyn jail while she awaits her July trial on sex trafficking charges. Yeah, I wouldn't say she's cooling her jets there, Mr. Brad Hunter. I'd say she's a bit fired up. Well, I mean, just take a look at all of the motions that her team has filed, and you see that Ghislaine Maxwell is throwing every single piece of doo-doo at the wall, hoping some of it will stick. But what she has not presented us, the Ice Queen, she has not presented us with any evidence, not even a little bit, to prove her side of this story. Not even one little bit of evidence. So they can have all the websites they want. They can have certain publications run puff pieces for them. They can have disgraced journalists who thought that stupid-ass tape from the dude in Russia was real. They can have them help them out, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, all of this shit, my whinging, my opinion, none of it's going to matter, folks, because that trial is coming. Okay? And then when that trial comes and all the cards are...
Imagine an ER waiting room with your favorite blanket and pillow, your cat's Pixel and Widget, and your mom's chicken soup. At Dignity Health, we know the only thing worse than being in pain is being stuck in an ER waiting room. So we offer In Quicker. You get an estimated ER arrival time online so you can start your wait at home. It's just another way of putting leading-edge medicine within easy reach. Learn more at strosehospitals.org/ER. Dignity Health, including St. Rose Dominicans, Rose de Lima, San Martin, and Siena campuses in Henderson and Las Vegas. Hello, human kindness.
On the table, we'll see what's what. And I have a sneaking suspicion that Team Maxwell is not going to come out of this looking good at all. Maxwell has pleaded not guilty, and none of the charges have been proven in court. Well, yeah, that's how this works usually, right? You know, allegations, investigation, trial, then conviction, okay? That's how it works. Nobody's saying she's been proven guilty. I'm certainly not anyway. The process has to play itself out. Unfortunately for her, the circumstantial evidence is Everest high. And unfortunately for her, she is what you call a public figure. When you're a public figure, this is what happens. Your life gets played out in the headlines, especially if you're involved in, human trafficking. Yeah, people might talk about you a little bit, okay? And that's what's going on here. But unlike other cases that are happening in real time, where we don't have all of the years of evidence and court documentation, this case has a solid foundation of evidence to follow from the beginning all the way through to the destination, and for you to actually bite in deep and get a mouthful, as opposed to he said, she said that you see going on in these newer cases, right? We have court documents here, we have tons of witness statements here, and we have decades and decades of not only investigations by, well, some of the media, but by the authorities themselves. So this is a very unique case in that regard. Very rarely do we have all of this evidence and all of this groundwork already set up for us when there's a case to dive into. Usually there's all kinds of things going on in real time, right? You don't know what's real, what's not. Nothing's been vetted yet. A lot of stuff is, hard to track down. And then, of course, you have to, unfortunately, take into mind that, is this a political hit piece? Is this a hit job? Who is this person's enemies? So all of that stuff comes into play when you're looking at one of these newer cases. With Maxwell and Epstein, however, none of that matters. This is all documented. This is all stuff that has been put down in court documents, has been put down on the public record in defamation cases. So this is a lot different than, something like a Tot Mom was, right, with Nancy Grace and all of that stuff. I stay away from that. You'll never hear me dive into any of that kind of stuff, folks, because we just don't have enough to go on, right? We don't have enough to go on. But this case, there's enough to go on. What are we, over 1,000 articles in by now? Plenty to go on here, folks. A wealthy California woman said she met Maxwell at a gala in 2004 at her Los Angeles area home, and they became fast friends. Now, again, take this with a grain of salt, right? We don't know this. This is an anonymous source talking to the Toronto Sun. So, again, I'm, with anonymous sources, I am hesitant in some cases to, buy in 100% what they have to say. But when we're talking about situations such as these, I feel like when it's reported, we have to talk about it, right? Because this person, according to her, has spoken with the FBI already as well. So if that's the case, then she's more than likely a legit source. My first impression was that she was very intelligent and very charismatic, She knows what to say, the woman, who asked to remain anonymous because she has spoken to the FBI about the Maxwell case, told the Toronto Sun. So, this lady says she became real good friends with Maxwell in 2004 at a gala at her Los Angeles-based home. And, according to her, Ghislaine Maxwell is not a very good person, folks, right? So, what this does is it just adds on to what we already know. More of a character assessment for Ghislaine Maxwell, just to add to the catalog of what we already know about her being a terrible human being. She revealed that Maxwell was drawn to the wealthy like a moth to a flame. Yeah, no shit. That she had to get that compromise, right? She had to make sure that she was getting that information and they were getting the stuff that they were looking to get from these wealthy people. See, it didn't just happen in a vacuum. It wasn't just all about the money, right? It was about the information. Remember, when you're at this level of wealth and you have this kind of dough, information is invaluable to you. You fabricate a hook on one of your enemies and forget it. Now you have them dancing to your song and dance. This woman was worse than Jeffrey Epstein. She had no conscience. I wondered about a lot of things with her sometimes, the woman said, adding that Maxwell was hypersexual. There are a lot of people who have come forward and given this exact description of who Maxwell is, of what she was, and how she conducted herself. As far as her being hypersexual, I don't care about that, right? It doesn't matter to me. What you do in your bedroom with consenting adults, not my business. If you want to be somebody who wants to have a ton of sex in their life, hey, go for it. I don't care. None of my business. Whatever you people want to do in your bedroom, I support 100%, as long as it's with consenting adults. That's the only rule in my life when it comes to love or, lust or whatever it is. Consenting adults. Besides that, man, it's nobody's business what folks do in their bedroom. Maybe if people would focus on their own lives and their own bedrooms, hint, hint, they wouldn't be so worried about other people's, right? But there are a lot of people who are, I don't understand where they get the time for it. Some nosy ass MFs on this planet, folks. She told me she could get into anybody's pants, that girls are like candy. Talk about gross. And when she says girls, we know Ghislaine Maxwell's talking about girls, right? She doesn't mean 26, 27-year-old women. She's talking about girls, nubiles, as it were. And to think that anyone's defending this woman, including her family, and with all we know, it doesn't register with me, honestly. These were the days before Epstein was arrested in Florida on an underage prostitution beef. I visited her place on East 65th Street in New York and at Jeff's place, and we flew together several times, the woman said. Oh, did you? What did you see on those planes, young lady? So I'm glad that, according to this lady, she's speaking with the FBI and talking to them about what she saw with Epstein and Maxwell. And if that's the case, and she really is speaking with them, I wonder how many other people have come forward to do the same thing that we don't know about. Remember, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, folks, that we are not privy to. But it didn't take long for her to start noticing disturbing things unfolding in the Maxwell-Epstein orbit. She said that Maxwell was attracted to both men and women and sincerely hoped she would one day marry creepy Epstein. Both were obsessed with social standing and even had rankings. So according to this lady, they had rankings as if you or I were ranking athletes or the best bars to go to. And that's how they would rank the social standings around them, the people around them. As far as Ghislaine Maxwell liking women as well as men, we know that's, according to the information we have, we know that that's something that's certainly on the table. So, look, how many more people are going to come out of the woodwork as we get closer to the trial? You know, I said it, how it's like a dam, right? First there's a crack, a little bit of water starts coming out, and then it bursts. And I think we're seeing that now, folks. I think we're seeing the burst phase. As more people come forward and speak on what they know, I think that we'll see even more of it even. There were always half-naked young women around both Maxwell and Epstein. Yes, I saw them, and it troubled me. So, you're coming forward now, and that's a good thing, but if it troubled you then, why didn't you say anything about it then? Why didn't you go to the authorities then? I mean, I guess it could be because Epstein was, intimidating and powerful, and people didn't want to upset the apple cart. But F that. F that. I was born to upset the apple cart. The woman revealed she has been questioned by the FBI, but she wishes she had acted sooner like many others. Well, there you have it. I feel a burden of guilt for not having done something sooner, she said. But they, Maxwell and Epstein, were a team when it came to sex, money, and power. A very formidable team, and the most perverse people I've ever seen. So again, more people coming out and saying this. So Maxwell's family can say what they want. Oscar Marcus can run whatever yap he wants. The few publications that are friendly to them can try and spin it however they want, but the facts don't align. Even today, the Californian said she remains mind-boggled by the extent of the corruption around the twosome. Now, the 59-year-old publishing heiress, co-conspirator, general all-around scuzzbag, is backed into a desperate corner. If convicted, she could be in jail for decades. It's a life sentence if she's convicted, folks. She's not getting out. She's 59. She's facing like 80 years and shit. If she goes up the river, which she certainly should, she's going to be in there for the rest of her life. Baloney sandwich party for everybody. If it looks like she's going down, Ghislaine will make a deal, and she'll throw people under the bus, including Prince Andrew, the former friend explains. Oh boy, would I love to see it. I would love to see Maxwell turn snitch and start ratting. Boy, that would be fantastic. Imagine the net that she could throw over some of these people. I know Ghislaine. She cares about one person and one person only. And that's Ghislaine Maxwell. Again, folks, this is from an anonymous source. Person says that she's spoken to the FBI already, but it certainly fits with the profile that we already have on Ghislaine Maxwell. And it just plays up the fact of the person that she is. And anyone who's been paying attention, anybody who's been following this story, already knew that Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein are, in my estimation at least, two of the most perverse people we have ever come across. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. For those of you who have donated to the podcast recently, thank you folks very much. And for those of you who have donated in the past, thank you as well. All right, everybody, I will be back later on tonight if we have some news worthy of it. If not, tomorrow morning, same time, same channel. Have a great Monday, everyone.
Imagine an ER waiting room with your favorite blanket and pillow, your cat's Pixel and Widget, and your mom's chicken soup. At Dignity Health, we know the only thing worse than being in pain is being stuck in an ER waiting room. So we offer In Quicker. You get an estimated ER arrival time online so you can start your wait at home. It's just another way of putting leading-edge medicine within easy reach. Learn more at strosehospitals.org/ER. Dignity Health, including St. Rose Dominicans, Rose de Lima, San Martin, and Siena campuses in Henderson and Las Vegas. Hello, human kindness.
Nevadans are battle-born, but lately we've been tested like never before. So when COVID came to Nevada, Senator Cortez Masto went to work. She got loans for small businesses that saved 500,000 Nevada jobs and worked with President Biden to provide stimulus checks and tax cuts. Senator Cortez Masto got new funding to keep Nevada's first responders on the job, too. Call Senator Cortez Masto at 202-224-3542 and tell her to keep delivering relief for Nevada. Paid for by Majority Forward.